Hi everyone and welcome back. I hope that you are feeling really wonderful today. I'm coming on to talk to you about the oncoming equinox, the change in season. Thank you so much for joining me today. I wanted to let you all know that I'm really, for one, happy to be here, but for two, we are doing live premieres every Friday night at 6 p.m. Pacific time, 8 p.m. Central time, and 9 p.m. Eastern time. So be sure to hit the subscribe button below and turn on the bell notifications. And join us for the live premiere. It's always really fun to talk about all of these crazy changes in energy and spend time ushering all of that in together. So if you've been wanting to catch the live premieres, try to check them out on Friday evenings. So anyway, everyone, I'm going to be jumping straight into it today. I don't have a lot of outlines in front of me. This was the video that I wanted to make for sure because I felt that we needed to talk early about the equinox, about how that's going to really change up the game, and how having Venus in Scorpio at the same time and that change in Venus sign, as well as Mars moving into Libra as well. We just need to talk a little bit about the major change in season coming on, what that means spiritually, what that means energetically, and how we can come through this time with a little bit more definition, okay? Because the previous few months of this year cycle, since about March of 2021, has really integrated into most of our lives very undefinable situations where answers don't feel clear cut, where it feels that there is not exactly a particular defined yes or no. There's not really a particular defined outcome for the momentum. So what this equinox, and we'll go ahead and start talking about building up to the equinox time. As we're building up to it around September 21st of 2021, that is going to start to manifest certain material outcomes that define. Okay, so we have defining moments, and as the equinox passes and we move into the latter half of September, getting into Libra season, I think that we will start to move quickly and to release things that we don't need and to start to build up things that we do. So our discernment is going to really start to play a key role for us moving up to this equinox period of time. And there are going to be a few challenges, okay? There are going to be a few challenges. But I feel also that anything that really is coming up as a challenge right now somehow ends up being a backhanded fortune. And we've been in that situation for a while. And I think that we need to start looking at challenges as more strengthening experiences as opposed to inconveniences. So one of the main things that I'm seeing coming up as we're moving towards the equinox is basically like a battle of interests. It feels like there's so many different interests in many people's lives right now, and there's a bit of conflict emerging from feeling as if some of them can't coexist. So within the process of decision making as we're moving towards Libra season, it feels like we are really worried about what certain decisions or what certain choices manifest into our world. But I also feel that there's a very peaceful kind of reminder that with all of the chaos or with all of the surrounding interests, it's very difficult also to see that one choice can really cause you too many problems, because it's like people aren't really focused on the choices of others. We've been talking a lot about narcissism and a lot about self-interest as well since Leo season, and that was something that kind of created some protection for other people, because I felt that even if we weren't making the correct choices, there wasn't a lot of difficult opposition from others because of their focus on themselves. So because of other people being so self-focused, it kind of leads to free reign for a lot of people as well, because other people just aren't that, focused on other people. So that's going to start changing up a little bit as we move towards this equinox, and you might kind of see that you are more interested in the pursuits of other people, or you might also see that other people are just playing a bigger role in your experience. But I feel that this equinox is changing up our sensory perception drastically, okay? So all of this focus that many of us have been having on these small choices or on these very minute, sort of detail-oriented things, that's going to change up, and I do think that there's going to become a much broader focus for most people. So instead of maybe focusing on that one decision or on that one career choice, whatever it is, I feel that people really start to embrace their greater essence with this equinox. It feels that there's more of a collective push to focusing on, okay, what's the broader story for me? What's the greater scheme within this instead of the small choices? It's kind of like we've had a lot of this early year to look at all the small things, to get a lot of small things in order, and now the bigger narratives will start coming through in a very interesting way. I must say there's a different tone to what we experience our purpose as, to what we experience larger desires, broader themes, overarching themes. These things start to feel very different and in a way much more accessible, okay? So one of the most incredible things that I'm feeling about this equinox coming on is it kind of shifts the Rubik's Cube per se into a more aligned point to actually move forward in purpose. Kind of like making headway, and it's kind of different for different people, but for most people I'm feeling that it's not such an alignment to a degree where we're at the pinnacle or where we're at the point of achievement, but I feel that it's the alignment to the degree where this climbing or this motion or this movement that we're having during this time until about February of 2022 is something so important to our larger progression, or so important to the healing of the body, the healing of how we want what we want, why we want what we want, our intentions, basically. I'm feeling that this equinox leading to the next solstice, so around December 21st, I feel that this is a huge intention healing time window. Okay, so let's talk about that. I really love that download. Intentions. Okay, so we're not so much talking actions yet. We're not so much talking outcomes. We're talking about intentions. Why do I want that position? Why do I want to live there? Why do I want this relationship status in my life? Why do I want this material status in my life? Why? What caused it? Was it trauma that led me to want to climb like this? Was it happiness that led me to detach in this way? Was it a certain relationship or a certain chain of events that happened over a period of time that have manifested this intention? Is it a natal intention? Have I had this from birth? Is this like a soul intention? Is this manufactured because of a chain of events or because of the wants of other people? What this, I'm going to call it basically October, November, about a 3-month window here, roughly from equinox to solstice, September 21st to December 21st. This is a pristine, clear, transparent sort of looking glass into the why factor, into the intention. And as we have such a clear view of that, it really lends itself to the most wonderful kind of healing for some people, and for other people, the most kind of destructive tendencies as well, because with that truth, with that honesty that we have to a degree been dealing with for like the last year and a half or two even, with that, people sometimes consciously start to get really freaked out, and they can create a lot of obstacles for themselves and a lot of polarity within their intentions. So like one day I want this, the next day I don't want that at all, and I want this instead. And basically that leads to a sort of chaotic stagnation. What I really trust about this period of time is the sensible progression, okay? So the things which have been simmering for such a long time, slowly, block after block, leading to a stronger sense of security, and also promising a more purpose-oriented chain of events, okay? that is not super unstable and not super erratic. So I keep being, what I keep seeing psychically is a Rubik's Cube kind of like snapping into place or getting closer. It's not quite perfect. It's like going from a very disorganized Rubik's Cube to a slightly closer, more fulfilled one. And then it could really click into place around February of 2022 for some people. But what I'm seeing is that it's like there's a lot of effort for many people regarding getting closer to things, making headway, healing in a really good, peaceful way. And because of that, it feels like we have to really know what that is in our lives that get us closer to that alignment, okay? Does that addiction really get us closer to that alignment? No. Does that contract with the job that we hate really get us closer to that alignment? No. Can healing from that addiction or pushing through this contract and, saving get us closer to that? That is kind of what it feels like. It feels kind of like we're not totally out of things which aren't perfect for us, but we are understanding how to make the headway through, and we are understanding what it takes to actually move into a stronger purpose. And if you really want to level up this equinox, and if you really want to snap into a momentum that gets you to a strong purpose point by February of 2022, I think that some executive decisions really need to be made for people in this time building up to September 21st. And probably by then for a lot of us, okay? Why is that? Because we're getting Mercury retrograde at the end of September. It'll already be moving into shadow as we approach the equinox. So that's going to kind of, if we haven't already committed to things, if we haven't already kind of seen what this headway is going to look like and kind of know what we're up for, that could kind of scatter us a little bit more. But as Mercury goes retrograde at the end of this month, I'm going to make a video about it. Be sure to subscribe below to get the Mercury retrograde video later this month. As that happens, we will be on a downward slope, basically, and coasting. And it'll be chaotic, it'll be scattering at first, but then October, November, December, January is kind of just like bit after bit after bit, leading up to a very strong eclipse season at the end of November, where a lot of this turmoil and toxicity just goes, if we do right things here and now. If. It's a very conditional thing. So and this is what a lot of my videos have turned into lately, it's very difficult for me to focus on such small windows of time, and I really have to piece it together with the broader, longer term transits. What I can tell you guys right now is sort of a little equinox gift, longer term equinox channeled gift, is that by the end of this year, so preceding the solstice, around the end of November, beginning of December, there's going to be very potent eclipses. I will make videos about them. They're going to be very potent eclipses, and these eclipses either will eclipse us into the strong relationship with toxicity that some of us are flirting with right now, or it will eclipse that toxicity out and replace it with purpose. Purpose or toxicity. These two things can be very similar, actually, because a lot of times, when we find ourselves in a toxic relationship or in a toxic job, whatever it is, at one point in time, this evoked a lot of purpose for us. And how did it get from that point, from being a purpose-oriented experience to a toxic one? Well, those are those little decisions. Those are those little detail-oriented decisions, which we're learning a lot about here in Virgo season. And it's really important, again, the equinox is the cusp between Virgo and Libra. So building up to that cusp, it says that small decisions become larger choices, right? Then from Libra to Scorpio, larger choices become transformations, right? And then Scorpio to Sag, transformations become huge results, huge undeniable results. And then Sag to Capricorn, results become reputation. Okay, so that's kind of something to know about how we're moving with time right now and how we're moving cyclically. We're still in small decisions, right? Small details, Virgo. So this is a perfect time of the year, every year, especially since we've had like grand earth trines in this cycle, to get those small detailed aspects of life together. What time do I work? What time do I study? How do I eat every day? What are my circadian rhythms? What do I say yes to and what do I say no to? Okay, especially building up to equinox. Equinox is like confirming or rejecting, right? The confirmations of life, the rejections of life, and what momentums are built through that and what outcomes will inevitably follow. So especially, that's why I wanted to make this equinox video earlier this year, leading up to it, is because I think that we need to really focus small details. I'm going to give you guys a little PSA announcement, small detail focus, because it will change the way that you stand by December of this year. Like from a level of reputation to a level of not just reputation, or not reputation as a lot of us think of it. A lot of us think of reputation as a sort of shallow, sort of public relations type of thing. I'm talking more so like, I mean, it is kind of that, but that has become something that is gaining a lot of power over how we live our day-to-day lives. So I have to really stress to everyone right now that the little things right now here in Virgo season of 2021 are something that we should be feeling good about. So if there's anything, like if you just think about your mundane daily events over the last week maybe, are there certain points of those mundane daily events that you feel are a threat, or that you feel worried about, or that you feel that there's maybe a toxicity or even a danger regarding? Those are things that we can prune out right here and right now, pre-equinox, and come into the equinox time, into Libra season, with a kind of almost unbeatable level of security. And I really, really think that it's so doable for everyone. Again, one of the reasons I'm making this video so soon before the equinox this year is because I feel that we need all the time we can get in Virgo season this year to get focused on the micro, to get focused on the small things, okay? But moving on from that, another thing about the equinox of this year is, of course, in the northern hemisphere, we are moving into fall, moving into autumn. And then, of course, yes, in the southern hemisphere into spring. Because I'm channeling from the northern hemisphere, it's probably coming to me in more of that tone where we're having the beginning of the ending process. You know, the leaves are starting to fall. There's that sort of change in season. So I always say, depending, and this depends on what hemisphere you're in. One of the difficult things about being having a global presence here on YouTube is we're going from both sides of it. But if you're in the northern hemisphere, it's very important to start letting things go now. What do I not need? Or to at least make plans for it. You know, I understand we're in a very securing, stabilizing year. It's very difficult to let things go this year. It's a very attached, grasping energy this year. So at least starting to make plans for what you know is not going to be a part of your life. And even if you want to get really ahead, get some extra credit, like let go of those things, like right post-equinox, you know, like September 25th, it's done or it's not happening anymore, like these things that we don't want. And I think because of the small detail focus of Virgo season this year, maybe we need to start with small things like, okay, I see that this particular food or this particular drink or this particular, time spending habit can be cut off right here and right now. And you'd be surprised about how rewarding this is. Also starting to allow ourselves to enjoy the monotony of our purpose-oriented goals. That's great. That's gold. A lot of us will procrastinate things that are so contributive to our focus while preferring to do things which are so toxic. You know, social media addiction, scrolling through Facebook, Instagram endlessly, scrolling through YouTube endlessly, while we have like on our desk right to the left of us like a stack of books or a stack of assignments, like if you're in a program of study, or maybe you have like just the perfect window of time also right there to get ahead on something relating to your business or something, or relating to your job in a way that you would actually master your time for the rest of the year. But instead we're choosing to feel bad about ourselves while scrolling through Instagram or something, you know. This is the perfect example of things that can be snipped off right here in Virgo season, and instead we can focus our efforts onto things that are more purpose and goal oriented for ourselves now. Okay, the next thing that I want to talk about regarding equinox is a return to center. So, for a lot of people, there have been little flashes, flashbacks, flash forwards about what is perfectly a part of not just your identity, but of your sort of nervous system's way of thriving. So, previous sports that you might have done that you don't do anymore that you really miss, things, healthy aspects of your life that are no longer a part of it, but could be reintroduced and cause a huge healing capability. I would definitely look into these things because with all these retrogrades, of course, that we're having moving into this equinox, it suggests that there might actually be a return for some people, a return to a previous field, a return to a previous location, or just a return to a muscle memory, okay? I definitely recommend that people do things that have been a part of their long running positive habitual structure. So I'm not talking about obviously returning to previous toxic relationships. I'm not talking about returning to previous addictions. I'm talking about returning to previous productive healing things, which you're not really allowing yourself the luxury of partaking in anymore. This can be something that really heals the body, okay? And healing the body, okay? Equinox time of the year is always one of the best times for that. If you're feeling a little bit fatigued, if you're feeling a little bit unwell, if you're feeling a little bit overdone, overdriven, it's perfect during this time of the year, during this equinox, again, to cut some things off. Like, okay, I'm not going to do this, I'm not going to do that. Instead, I'm going to focus on my body. What's going into the body is very, very important during Virgo season and Libra season as well. And really monitoring, is it healthy? And I'm talking about from food and drink, also to like media, okay, consumed media, consumed in anything that is consuming, okay, so buying things, eating, drinking, entertainment, all of this stuff should kind of be measured at this time and seen if it is contributing overall to our larger health. And one of the most magical things about this time of year every year, fall equinox, September equinox, is the sort of vision of how things could be, okay? It's beautiful to spend time thinking about what would a perfect day look like for me if money weren't an issue, if I had the freedom that I'm wanting, if I had already accomplished these goals that I'm like holding so dear to me. Would it really change the meat and potatoes of my life? Would the introductions of these goals or introductions of these things that I don't have now but that I'm dreaming about, would that really give me something that I like, or is there a grass is greener on the other side complex coming in? That's important to think about, but for most people it's not, but you can really flesh out dreams. Again, Virgo Pisces axis moving to Libra Aries axis. You can really flesh out your dreams into an actual pursuable cause. So the creation of a cause during this time, the creation of an intention. Again, a lot of us are creating intentions at this time, which is why I'm stressing so much the small details and the health of the body, because if the small details are out, if the body is unhealthy, I scarce think that intentions can be good, okay? So we have to really push for a healthier mind, healthier body, healthier spirit, so that the intentions that are developed during this time are sturdy enough, perhaps, to be scrutinized in the future. Especially for those of you who are super goal-oriented, as I feel a lot of people on this channel are. A lot of people here are very driven, and even if it's not in such a worldly, material way, it's from health or from getting life to be a certain level of comfort, and oftentimes that takes drive on this planet. It just does. So I want to say that what is going on during this time, even the dreams that are coming through during this time, or the momentum spectrums that are developed here, are something that could be subject to scrutiny later, okay? Which is not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. In fact, it can be something that is very shielding later when, if scrutiny were to happen or if criticisms are to happen, you can kind of go back to this period of time and be like, well, this is where I was at, and that sort of confirms my claim on this goal. in a very positive, healthy way because my intentions were healthy. However, if the intentions are not healthy right now, it's very difficult, very difficult in the future. So what I recommend to everybody is like purification, cleansing of especially anything that deals with like generation of money for the sake of money, certain types of social standing or relationships for the sake of them without some sort of greater core, okay? It's important to know that the outcome or the striving process, the core of it, the motivation of it, not necessarily be for the sake of the outcome. Does this make sense? I know this is kind of complicated. Rarely do people who, I suppose, achieve a certain status do it because they set out for that. It's usually the result of some type of greater contribution that wasn't necessarily tied to that. So I think it's important to know that intentions really have to be, how do I say this? Perhaps less individuated and more enmeshed with needs that are more universal. So more universal needs need to be probably at the core of most motivational driven parts of us at this point in time, if we want them to resonate in the future. And if we want them to resonate now, honestly, I think that super selfish, narcissistic goals don't even resonate at this point in time for most people. You know, and it's really clear, like if you can look back to 2015 or 2014 even, and kind of look at some of the previous goal patterns, not just within yourself, but within other people. So other, I don't know, prominent people of the time, like celebrities or people who have like public relations or something, you might be able to see that, wow, that doesn't resonate at all anymore. The shift in paradigm has completely led to even things from the previous 5 or 6 years to totally not resonate anymore. And that would be because there's not really a universal core behind it, or there's not really a it's very selfish, or it's about the camera angles, it's about the texture of the skin, it's about the lighting, okay? And that's something that's really stopping to resonate with a lot of people. Like, people aren't caring so much anymore about the texture of the skin of that person on TV. People aren't caring as much anymore about the angle of the person in the picture on the social media account with 17 million followers. People don't care about it anymore. But there are still maybe some goals or motivational cores within a lot of people that are striving based on that previous very, very strong, very, very powerful motivational core, where like the change in angle of the face, or the texture of the skin, or the following number on the social media account really has like a huge bearing on people. And actually, I will tell you that these types of things are becoming resented. Okay, so that's a frightening dynamic for a lot of people in those positions who worked so hard and sold so much of themselves to have that, and now actually might find themselves more in a like contentious relationship with those who have built them up. So kind of just a stream of consciousness about the illusion of grandeur, okay? The illusion of popularity, the illusion of status, which is really changing face with this equinox and really confirming itself by the next equinox, okay? So March of 2022. And I think for most people, it really is, in a revolutionary way, healing to like maybe not feel like they have to do that with themselves, or to not feel like that has to be the pinnacle of their success. You know what I mean? And to really solidify my point, my sort of thesis about this, about what I'm talking about here with the sort of change and orientation of the general collective towards like status, or towards what seems to be progress or accomplishment in 2021, and actually moving until about like the early 2030s, where we're locking in a new type of paradigm about what is success, what is accomplishment, what is doing well in life. You know, it's changing by February of 2022. and will lock in, I think, until the early 2030s. So that's cool to see within this larger channeling of equinoxes. We are kind of entering into a new generational theme, or we're entering into a new trends, new fads, new ideas of what a successful person is or does. That's changing up right here and right now. The content of that change is happening as I'm speaking right here, as you're watching this video in September of 2021. But the point that I really want to make about it is that a healthy psyche, a healthy body, integrity, an understanding of what has worked for you before, as well as what hasn't, and an ability to follow through and maximize what has worked and minimize what hasn't. And to not necessarily use people who are super heightened successful right this second as a map, okay? But to let your own health, to let your own accomplishment, to let your own integrity start to create a path now will lead you more so to be in the success spectrums that are oncoming. Okay, because I will say that the current success status quo could easily become, how should I say, resented. Okay, resented. And I think that that's already here. I think that everybody already perhaps feels that way. So with that, I would also expect to see a squirming of the current status quo as they try to quickly adapt to a different type of want from those who are not quite there yet, okay? And I don't think that that will be successful, because I don't think that there is really a touch point of understanding what those who are not there already truly need, as I think that even those who are not there already still haven't determined what that is themselves. So I don't see how people who are already there, who have already arrived, per se, I don't see how they could know it either. So that's basically the larger theme of this time, is like the unknown, right? Virgo Pisces axis, but also how the outer planets are working through these axes as well. Of course, Chiron being on the Aries Libra axis, which is obviously this particular equinox axis as well. Neptune being in Pisces. Uranus is all the outer planets are being really strong. Yeah. If you're an astrologer, you get it. I'm not going to elaborate on that. We'll be here all day. But it just denotes to me a big change in, and this happens so much in history. It's part of evolution, really. It's part of psyche evolution. We're just at a changing point of what one considers to be a point or a status, a scheme, a part of the larger success schemata, I'll call it. That's totally changing right now. And again, hopefully I don't sound like a broken record here. The way to work with it, because I feel that it's important for us to start to understand what it is that we actually want, okay, as a larger general collective, because I don't think that we know yet. We're like, well, I know that I don't want this. I know that I don't want that. We kind of know what we don't want. I'm not sure we know what we do want yet, because it seems to be in a polarized way, changing every day. And that's going to get exhausting. And I think that this equinox to solstice period, 3-month period of time, has to see a healthier psyche that can kind of start to elaborate, at least, on what it actually wants from life. Okay? So, Equinox 2021, it's going to start in very small ways. These changes, these shifts, these understandings of what it is that we really want starts in the smallest of ways. Okay, so I kind of think that this has to be a day-by-day kind of expansion. And it's not going to be a matter of within one day, I changed my life, or within 24 hours, 48 hours, I have a completely new view on my purpose. Some people are going to kind of fool themselves into thinking that that's where it's at, but it's going to have to be incremental. I think probably up until February of 2022, incremental motions of okay, I know that app is something that brings chaos onto my life, it's gone and it never comes into my life again. For some people, it's, I know that the real estate business is something that I have to start working with like differently now. And I know that maybe geopolitically that there's a big change in how that industry operates. Is that really what I want to base my life in? For some people, it's like, I know that drinking water out of plastic water bottles for my whole life probably is something that would have a negative health impact. What are the solutions to all of these things, right? What are the solutions? And we have to kind of, and it's like within 24 hours, we can't like completely change our social media habits, completely change our industry of like investment, and then completely change what we're drinking water out of, okay? Because, okay, so this is something else I have to talk about. I've been feeling this. I'm so proud it's coming up. I'm so proud this is coming up because I would almost miss talking about this in this video. The downloads can come quickly. Like, just right then, like, I listed kind of 3 issues that a lot of people are struggling with. Like, this app, like, I don't know, I'm not gonna, any social media apps, they can be very destructive or they can be very helpful. You know, it's kind of one of those things where it's like, okay, yes, I can connect with my family all across the world and that's beautiful. But also, you know, there are aspects of it that are really toxic. We might know that we don't want to interact with that anymore, but our brain chemistry is like kind of connected to them in a weird way because of habits, because of addictions for some people. So it's hard to necessarily change that within one day. To also know that like the way that you're investing your time or money or energy, hard to change that in just one day. To know that some of the things that you're putting into your body, the water out of the plastic water bottles, within 5 minutes, we can know that those are 3 areas that might need adjustment in our lives. But can we do all 3 of those within one day? That might be dangerous, okay, to upend our lives like that in one day. So it's kind of like incremental. Maybe we're devoting like 2 or 3 week, even month long increments to 1, solve our reliance on social media, to 2, to start to ponder new ways that we can create abundance in our lives, and then 3, to start to forge more sustainable ways in which we can sustain our own bodies with a necessity like water. So we don't have to reinvent the wheel either, okay? And some people kind of get really crazy and they're like, I'm going to create irrigation on my own property or something like that. There are already ways, like it's like the ways have already been developed. We don't have to reinvent the wheel with this. It's mainly about choosing the healthier way. So with that, this equinox period of time starts to become an incremental motion into a way healthier lifestyle for a lot of people. But I do think it really has to be chosen. It's not going to happen by itself, okay? Coasting really is not the greatest thing right now unless you've already done it, unless you've already created a healthy lifestyle for the most part. It's going to really take deliberate action, small, minute, deliberate, incremental action to get us to that point where this period of time becomes a monolithic sort of era in most people's development that led them to actually be so imbued with purpose and so imbued with happiness that resonant success, okay, not unresonant success, was achievable. Okay, quite subjunctive, right? Quite conditional. Quite a subjunctive, conditional time we are in where a lot depends, okay? A lot depends. We can't predict it very well. It's not a great time to be predictive, okay? It's not a great time to rely on something that hasn't yet happened, okay? What we have at this point in time is something that we can only really rely on now. Okay, so what I'm trying to say is try to not rely on like, okay, in 6 months I'm going to get this money, in 6 months I'm going to make that business, in 6 months I'm going to change this, and even though I hate the way things are right now, I'm relying on that to come through. Try instead to give to yourself some degree of well-being now, okay? So on that note, I'm going to conclude my little discussion on the equinox of 2021. Be sure to keep checking back to this video leading up to the equinox, and even up to like October. It should definitely resonate, and of course we talked about larger themes, so I think it's a pretty timeless little piece of content there. And on that note, everyone, I hope that you have a wonderful week ahead and time leading up to the equinox. It's a really wonderful, wonderful opportunity we have coming on to start to implement changes and to incrementally move towards situations that we resonate more with. So thank you so much, and be sure to check back on Friday evenings for live premieres, and I should have other videos going out as well. There should be a Venus and Scorpio video, and there should also be a full moon video coming up as well. So I am looking forward to keeping track with everyone. Be sure to join the Discord below as well. We have a Discord community where we talk a lot about different transits and different general topics. And as always, your likes, comments, and subscribes make my day. Have a wonderful week ahead, everyone. Much love. Bye.